Well, this is either another politically motivated prosecution, or it's another case of people pilfering charities, or a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B. Viva Frei, Montreal litigator turned YouTuber, and by now I'm sure you've all heard the indictment heard round the world of Steve Bannon, former White House chief strategist, and Brian Kolfage. They and two others, Andrew Bottolato and Timothy Shea, have been charged with fraud in their dealing with the GoFundMe for the Build the Wall campaign that they started a couple of years ago. And before I even read the indictment, I immediately thought this has to be going either one of two ways. Either this is yet another politically motivated prosecution, or this is yet another case of people pilfering charities. And then remembering the wise words of Abraham Simpson, I realized there might have actually been a third option.
A little from column A, a little from column B.
But I have read through the indictment, and as an attorney, I have had my experiences with charity fraud, and I've got to say, after having read the indictment, I am really leaning towards column B. That being said, and I have to say this every time we go through an indictment, all of the allegations in the indictment are just that, mere allegations. All four of the defendants are innocent until proven guilty. I just know what I feel after having read the indictment and the evidence cited therein. There might be a perfectly good explanation for all of the allegations in the indictment. There might be perfectly good defenses, jurisdictional, procedural, or otherwise. I just know what I feel after having read the evidence, but I have not heard the other side yet. Now, before I break down the indictment itself, my friend and fellow YouTuber Nate Brody did an amazing video on the subject. I'm going to link it right here. Give it a watch because it really goes into the history of the GoFundMe campaign. We are going to go over those details as we go through the allegations in the indictment. Suffice to say one or two things about the GoFundMe campaign itself, just for context. You know what? Let's just go straight to the indictment, and I'll add the tidbits of information for context as we go through the allegations in the indictment. Count 1, conspiracy to commit wire fraud. The grand jury charges Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants and others, orchestrated a scheme to defraud hundreds of thousands of donors, including donors in the Southern District of New York, in connection with an online crowdfunding campaign ultimately known as, quote, We Build the Wall, end quote, that raised more than $25 million to build a wall along the southern border of the United States. I suspect the allegation, including donors in the Southern District of New York, is to establish jurisdiction where this lawsuit is indeed filed in the Southern District of New York. To induce the donors to donate to the campaign, Kolfage and Bannon, each of whom, as detailed herein, exerted significant control over We Build the Wall, repeatedly and falsely assured the public that Kolfage would, quote, not take a penny in salary or compensation, end quote, and that 100% of the funds raised will be used in the execution of our mission and purpose, end quote, because, as Bannon publicly stated, quote, we're a volunteer organization, end quote.
I did this kind of as a volunteer. I mean, are you going to raise, $2 billion to actually complete the physical barrier? I think the answer to that's probably no.
Kolfage made these warranties and representations on multiple occasions, which I think are going to come back to bite him in the butt, and even more importantly, from what I understand, they formed part of the objective of the campaign itself. 100% of the funds raised were going to go to the objective of building the wall. Kolfage was not going to take a salary. No one was going to line their pockets or take anything out of that charity. Those representations were false. In truth, Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Bottolato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants, collectively received hundreds of thousands of dollars in donor funds from We Build the Wall, which they each used in a manner inconsistent with the organization's public representations. In particular, Kolfage covertly took more than $350,000 in funds that had been donated to We Build the Wall for his personal use, while Bannon, through a non-profit organization under his control, received over $1 million from We Build the Wall, which Bannon used to, among other things, secretly pay Kolfage and to cover hundreds of thousands of dollars in Bannon's personal expenses. The rest of the allegation goes on to describe the scheme. Bannon set up another not-for-profit which would invoice the original charity for upwards of $1 million. Bannon would then in turn pay Kolfage from his not-for-profit that had invoiced the original charity. And then the indictment gets into the history of the We Build the Wall campaign, which is very interesting itself. On or about December 17th, 2018, Brian Kolfage, the defendant, with the assistance of others, launched a fundraising campaign originally called, quote, We the People Build the Wall, end quote, on a crowdfunding website. According to statements on the webpage for We the People Build the Wall on the crowdfunding website, the campaign was raising funds to donate to the United States federal government for construction of a wall at the southern border of the United States. The webpage also stated that, quote, 100% of your donations, end quote, should be given to the government for the construction of a wall, and that if the campaign could not attain its goal, it would, quote, refund every single penny. Long story short, from what I understand, the campaign, which was originally set up as something of a political gag, actually raised upwards of $25 million in no time at all. And from what I understand, the campaign was suspended for one of two reasons. One of which is that the campaign's stated goal was to reach $1 billion to give to the government, but there was actually no reasonable chance that they would ever get to $1 billion, except within a week they ended up with $25 million in the account. And around the same time, Kolfage, who is now sitting on a GoFundMe account with 23 some odd million dollars, and it says, we don't trust the Democrats to spend this money on the wall. It's going to go into the government. It's going to get wasted like all the other money that goes to the government. We want to put it in a not-for-profit that is going to be dedicated specifically to building the wall. I think I just spat on the camera. Around the same time, Brian Kolfage, the defendant, involved Stephen Bannon and Andrew Badalato, the defendants, in the leadership of the campaign. Within days of becoming involved, Stephen Bannon and Andrew Badalato, the defendants, took significant control of the fundraising campaign's organization and day-to-day activities, including its finances, messaging, donor outreach, and general operations. Specifically, in or around late December 2018, Bannon and Badalato, working with Brian Kolfage, the defendant, oversaw the creation of a new Section 501c4 organization, We Build the Wall, Inc., to which they proposed that the money that had been raised by We the People Build the Wall could be transferred. So in order to respond to GoFundMe's concerns, in order to respond to the concern that they would never reach the $1 billion, so the $25 million that they had already raised would ultimately be returned to all of the donors, they incorporated a new not-for-profit into which all of those funds would be transferred. There was only one problem, though. They needed the express consent of everyone who had contributed to the original campaign that their funds would be transferred to the new 501c4. 501c4 is fancy lawyer talk for a not-for-profit. And apparently something like 93% of the original donors in fact opted in, specifically consented to having their original donation transferred into this new 501c4, but the thing is they did it based on the representations and warranties of Kolfage, which included the following.
It's still going on, and everyone who donates right now, your money goes towards this wall. 100% of your money goes towards the wall. It's not going to line someone's pocket. I'm taking $0 of a salary, no compensation. It's going towards the wall. So the mission is changing from We Fund the Wall to We Build the Wall. We need everyone to opt in, and when they opt in, it's ensuring that your donation counts towards this wall. If you don't opt in and you don't put your email address in there, your donation will not count and it will be refunded in 90 days.
Moreover, according to the indictment, these assurances included, among other things, written bylaws with conflict of interest provisions and compensation restrictions precluding insiders like Kolfage, among others, from improperly misappropriating donor funds, and a promise that, quote, Kolfage will take no salary, end quote, and, quote, will personally not take a penny of compensation from these donations. Kolfage, Bannon, and Badalato also agreed that donors would have to, quote, opt in to having their contributions redirected from the crowdfunding website to We Build the Wall. And this is what the GoFundMe opt-in message looked like. As explained in update number 18 on the campaign, you have 90 days to let us know if you'd like your donation to be sent to the new 501c4 organization, We Build the Wall, Inc. If we do not hear from you by April 10, 2019, your donation will be automatically refunded on April 11, 2019, as the specific plan for the use of funds raised on the campaign has changed from what was originally stated. Please take action through the links below. Yes, I want my donation to go to We Build the Wall, Inc. Please refund my donation. If we don't hear from you, we will refund your donation on April 11, 2019. Thank you, the GoFundMe team. Beginning in January 2019, Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Badalato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants, caused We Build the Wall to mislead donors, promising them repeatedly that, quote, 100%, end quote, of the funds would be used for construction of a wall, and that Kolfage in particular would take no salary or compensation from the new organization. Kolfage also touted the bylaws that We Build the Wall had ratified at the request of the crowdfunding website, saying publicly and in media interviews, for example, quote, it states in our bylaws, I take $0, no salary, no compensation, end quote. And quote, I won't take a penny from these donations, end quote, and quote, it's not possible to steal the money. We have an advisory committee. I can't touch that money. It's not for me. We have bylaws set up, end quote. But as they say, the road to hell is paved in good intentions, and that is not exactly what happened. In fact, that is pretty much the exact opposite of what actually happened, at least according to the indictment. The allegations in the indictment, which are just allegations, not facts. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Let's see what they say. These false assurances successfully induced donors to give money to We Build the Wall and to opt in to have their prior donations transferred to We Build the Wall's new non-profit entity. Of the original $20 million raised from hundreds of thousands of donors, most of the donors agreed to opt in and allow their donations to be transferred to We Build the Wall under the false premise that, quote, 100% of fundraising through donations will go towards the wall, end quote, and that Brian Kolfage, the defendant, would not take any compensation for his work. Despite these repeated assurances, the public narrative deliberately crafted by Brian Kolfage, Stephen Bannon, and Andrew Badalato, the defendants, and others were false. In fact, although We Build the Wall spent money on the construction of a border wall, hundreds of thousands of dollars were siphoned out of We Build the Wall for the personal use and benefit of Kolfage, Bannon, Badalato, and Timothy Shea, the defendant. Indeed, despite Kolfage's numerous public statements that he was not taking a salary or getting a penny in compensation, within days of launching We Build the Wall, Kolfage, working primarily with Bannon and Badalato, Battleado reached a secret agreement whereby Colfage would be covertly paid, quote, $100K upfront and then $20 per month, end quote. Because that arrangement was directly contrary to the defendant's repeated public representations, Colfage, Bannon, Battleado, Shea, and others schemed to pass these payments to Colfage indirectly from We Build the Wall through third parties, including entities under the control of Bannon and Shea. To preserve the secrecy of the arrangement to pay Brian Colfage, the defendant, with We Build the Wall's donor funds, Stephen Bannon, the defendant, agreed to pass payments from We Build the Wall to Colfage through Nonprofit One, which, as noted above, was controlled by Bannon with the assistance of Andrew Battleado, the defendant, and others. In approving that arrangement, Bannon made clear in a text message to Battleado that there would be, quote, no deals I don't approve, end quote, and directed that Colfage be paid indirectly through Nonprofit One in an attempt to conceal the payments from the public, notwithstanding the fact that Colfage did no work for Nonprofit One, and that the payments from Nonprofit One to Colfage would be funded by We Build the Wall. Alright, I'm pretty sure you can tell by the color of my face that the sun is in fact setting, hence the orange, but basically the alleged scheme is one of a shell game. The We Build the Wall charity raises something like $20 million. People opt in specifically on the warranties and representations that Colfage is not going to take any salary, not take a penny out of it, that all of it is going to go to building the wall. Bannon's nonprofit immediately invoices We Build the Wall in the order of $1 million. We Build the Wall transfers $1 million to Bannon's nonprofit, from which Colfage begins drawing compensation of sorts in the order of several $100,000. Consistent with that scheme, on or around February 11, 2019, Stephen Bannon and Andrew Battleado, the defendants, caused Nonprofit One to pay Brian Colfage, the defendant, $100,000 in funds from We Build the Wall. Text messages exchanged between Bannon and Battleado and others confirmed the payment was intended as a salary for Colfage and that the payment would be funded by We Build the Wall. In particular, in the days prior to the payment, Bannon directed Battleado in a text message to send a, quote, wire of cash to Nonprofit One, end quote, and shortly thereafter, Nonprofit One's bank account received a $250,000 wire from We Build the Wall. No more than a week later, the same bank account was used to make a $100,000 wire transfer to Colfage. In each of the following 2 months, Bannon again paid Colfage each time a $20,000 monthly salary payment, consistent with the secret deal Bannon had approved as described above, using funds that had been wired into Nonprofit One's bank account from We Build the Wall shortly before the payment to Colfage. When Colfage later noted in a text message to Battleado that, at least in part as a result of these pass-through payments, We Build the Wall would have to disclose substantial payments to Nonprofit One on tax forms, Battleado replied, quote, better than you or me, LOL, end quote. To conceal the payments Colfage received from Nonprofit One, Colfage instructed Battleado that the payments should be made to Colfage's spouse, and Nonprofit One subsequently issued a Form 1099 falsely stating that it had paid Colfage's spouse for, quote, media, end quote. These are all merely allegations at this stage of the proceedings. We haven't seen the underlying evidence, although a grand jury did, but I've got to say it doesn't look good at all. In total, from the creation of We Build the Wall in January 2019 to in or around October 2019, Brian Colfage, the defendant, received more than $350,000 in donor funds from We Build the Wall, all passed indirectly at the direction and with the assistance of Stephen Bannon, Andrew Battleado, and Timothy Shea, the defendants, through Nonprofit One, Shell Company One, and the accounts controlled by Associate One and Associate Two. Colfage then used those funds to pay for his own personal expenses, including, among other purposes, home renovations, payment towards a boat, a luxury SUV, a golf cart, jewelry, cosmetic surgery, personal tax payments, and credit card debt. Moreover, in addition to Brian Colfage, the defendant, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Battleado, and Timothy Shea, the defendants, each received hundreds of thousands of dollars in donor funds from We Build the Wall, which they each used to pay for a variety of personal expenses, including, among other things, travel, hotels, consumer goods, and personal credit card debts, in addition to the payments described above to Colfage. With respect to Bannon in particular, as noted above, Nonprofit One received over $1 million from We Build the Wall, and while some of that money was used to pay Colfage, as detailed above, Bannon used a substantial portion of those donor funds for personal uses and expenses unrelated to We Build the Wall. According to the allegations in the indictment, it is the standard scheme. I have no doubt it's going to be the standard defense. We didn't use those funds personally. They were all to reimburse expenses in connection with our pursuing of the goal of building the wall. We needed to travel, we needed to eat, we needed to stay at hotels, we needed to scope out the area, find contractors, etc., etc. We didn't personally benefit from those funds. They were just used by us as expenses in pursuit of the goal. That is going to be the defense, sure as sugar, I think. But towards the end of the indictment are some allegations that really make the defendants look guilty. In or around October 2019, Brian Colfage, Stephen Bannon, and Andrew Battleado, the defendants, and others learned from a financial institution that We Build the Wall might be under federal criminal investigation. The defendants defendants thereafter took additional steps to conceal the fraudulent scheme detailed above. For example, around that time and in reaction to the potential investigation, Colfage and Badalato began using encrypted messaging applications on their phones. And We Build the Wall's website was changed to remove any mention of the promise that Colfage was not being compensated and to add a statement that he would be paid a salary starting in January 2020. Colfage also stopped receiving secret salary payments after this date. If these allegations are in fact true, it is very suspicious that the defendants would have such a radical change in behavior once they became aware of a potential criminal investigation into their conduct. And moreover, it seems like they might also be setting up another grounds of defense by stating on the website that Colfage would be drawing a salary as of 2020. Now, I guess they might be able to say that anything he received prior to 2020 was an advance on his salary that he would be receiving as of 2020. Either way, those are the allegations of fact, and then we get into the statutory offenses, which are the following: wire fraud in violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 1343, Count 2, conspiracy to commit money laundering, Title 18 United States Code Sections 1956A, 1B, small I, and 1957A. And then we get into the forfeiture allegations, which are effectively that the defendants forfeit to the United States all of the proceeds of their alleged crime. And bearing in mind, they have not been found guilty, they have not been convicted of anything, they are, based on the indictment alone, forfeiting assets to the United States pending an outcome of this indictment. As a result of committing the offense alleged in Count 1 of this indictment, Brian Colfage, Stephen Bannon, Andrew Badalato, and Timothy Shea, the defendants, shall forfeit to the United States pursuant to Title 18 United States Code Section 981A1C and Title 28 United States Code Section 2461C any and all property, real and personal, that constitutes or is derived from proceeds traceable to the commission of said offense, including but not limited to a sum of money in United States currency representing the amount of proceeds traceable to the commission of said offense and the following specific property. And that is the indictment, hopefully in plain English, or at the very least plainer English than the indictment itself. I hope you learned a little bit from watching this video. One thing is for certain, I will be discussing this with Robert Barnes during our next live stream, for sure. I am certain he's going to have a ton to say on it, and whether or not I agree with him entirely, I am undoubtedly going to learn something from him. Tune in to our next live stream. It should be this Sunday. If you're watching this on the Friday or Saturday before this Sunday, I'm going to link it right here. In any case, give it a watch. It'll be a good one. All right, and with that said, if you like my videos and you like my content, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop a comment in the comment section below because it feeds the algorithm. If you want to support the channel, all of the support links are in the pinned comment. We've got PayPal, Subscribe Star, Patreon, YouTube membership, merch for anybody who wants some merch. If you want to know where I get my awesome music from, Hook Sounds is a promo code if anybody needs any royalty-free music for their videos. But above all else, take care of yourselves, check in on friends and family, make sure everyone around you is doing well, and now you know your vlog. Peace out. Booyah!